Hey everybody, welcome back to my page. It's your girl Shar Spencer. We're here for another segment talking about kind of leaving off where we left off last time. My last video, you can find a link somewhere around here to see what we were talking about. The last topic that we discussed was about how I almost went back to my old life a few months back. Probably, I don't know, maybe 6-7 months ago, where my struggle got super real. And I was just really ready to give up on, this whole walk with Jesus and everything like that. So that's what we talked about last time. I gave you guys a little bit of a hint about what we would talk about in this next video. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Being that I, found myself in a situation of falling in temptation, but I'm a Christian, and so a lot of times I believe as Christians we default by nature to say that, all right, I have this situation, it deals with sin, so let me attack it strictly from this very spiritual point of view. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I think that there is value in that we need to understand that a lot of things that happen with us are not just things that happen in the natural. They're things that are being affected in the spiritual. And so yes, we need to be able to handle those things from a spiritual perspective. So what does that include? Prayer, going to church, having spiritual counseling, talking to a pastor. These are things that, if you're a part of a local church, should be at your disposal easily to be able to talk through anything that you may be dealing with and understand what the Bible has to say about it and how to address it from a spiritual standpoint. And I did those things. So I have great friends that hold me accountable and get all up in my business and tell me when I'm wrong and tell me when I'm doing things that they know God would not be pleased about, in a very loving way. They don't beat me over the head with the Bible and shaming me, but very honestly tell me that, hey, you messing up, and we what can we do to help you get this together? So that was no different in this situation. That I had two very good friends that I was able to talk to specifically about this and in detail, and let them know what was going on, what was happening, how it was making me feel, and they gave me amazing spiritual counsel, which was extremely important. It was very important for me to get that counsel, simply because I needed to be able to deal with the effects that what I did was having on my soul and on my spirit, because it was having an effect. It was having a huge impact on how I was feeling spiritually. Again, I felt like a failure. I felt like I had messed up. And oftentimes when we fall into sin, we tend to get into these places of feeling like, I've messed up so bad, I can't come back to God. He's not going to forgive me. Like, there's nothing that I can do to make up for this. And you need friends that are going to be like, hey, like, it's not like God didn't know that you were going to mess up. It's not like God was unprepared for this situation. Not to make an excuse for what you did, because there is no excuse for it. However, there's still grace, there's still mercy, that there's still love be extended to you, and you simply just have to accept that. So that was amazing. It was very beneficial to me to have friends that I could talk to and that I can kind of express to them how I was feeling, because I was having a hard time with that. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a very emotional person, and I don't typically like talking about how I feel or things that are going on. I like to digest things internally, so I'll mull it over, I'll replay it, I'll talk through it with myself in my head. But oftentimes that's not always the healthiest way. for me to deal with things. And so I had to find a way to really handle this in a healthy way and be able to express how I was feeling. So great friends were very helpful. And I hope you have great friends that could help you through tough situations like the one I had. However, while my friends were great, while they were amazing, and I mean, when I say amazing, they were absolutely amazing. They were super supportive. I know they were praying for me. They would check in on me. They really amped their accountability up in this situation. At times, I would feel like while they were giving me spiritual counsel, while they were wanting to push me in the right direction spiritually, I sometimes felt like some of the just emotional, natural parts of how I was feeling about the situation were being disregarded. And that was a little frustrating for me. Again, I'm not a big talker about my feelings, and so to be in a place of where I'm trying to express how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling some type of way, and that coming across, even though I know that was not their intention, it would come across occasionally as if I needed to just push forward to get to this specific place that I knew I needed to be and they knew I needed to be, became a little difficult. And so I actually talked to one of my friends who is a licensed counselor, and was telling her that, I really think that I needed to see a counselor. I really felt like I needed a third party who did not know me, did not know the situation, didn't know the person involved, that I fell into temptation with, knew nothing about anything, and could give me a very objective point of view, but also give me very practical steps in how to move forward. There are times where, as believers, we negate the fact that the solution to problems, while there are, again, spiritual aspects to it, we do need practical steps to be able to implement in order to live out and walk out this transformation that God is trying to do on the inside. And so I talked to this friend, and she happened to have an amazing counselor that she was going with, and so lovingly shared the information with me, which I know sometimes can be a difficult thing. Like, some people, take their, relationships with their counselors very personally, and it can sometimes feel kind of weird if you feel like you're going to the same counselor as somebody that but she was willing and open to share the name of her counselor with me. And so the thing that I loved, because what I was specifically looking for was a counselor who was licensed, who had the education and the training to walk me through this situation, but also was a believer in Jesus Christ. Why was this important? Well, because I was delivered from a life of homosexuality, I'm now living a life free from that lifestyle, and I'm not looking to go back to that lifestyle. I needed someone who understood that. And my fear was that if I went to a counselor who was not a Christian, that I would run into the issue of them trying to convince me that I was doing the wrong thing by denying my sinful nature and following Jesus. And so, again, it was important for me to find someone who believed as I do, who understood the word, understood what it meant to pray, understood deliverance as a whole, and would support me in that venture, and not be trying to convince me that what I was doing was wrong. I know it may seem like, you could go to any counselor, and if that's your preference, absolutely, by all means, do that. However, for me, it was really important to have someone who was a believer for that specific person. I just felt like it would be hard to talk to someone who wasn't a believer, because they wouldn't understand. Like, the average person doesn't understand giving up your own desires for a God that you can't see, if they don't have a relationship with that same God. So I ended up finding this amazing counselor. It was also great because she was like right down the street from my house, that I started going to. And it was like, I knew it was God that had put this whole situation together, because at my very first session, I I was so comfortable talking to her, and I was able to really say things to her that I felt like I couldn't say to anyone else, even some of my friends. And so I was able to use these counseling sessions to express feelings and emotions, and explain to her the nature of the whole situation, about, how God had delivered me, how I had fallen into this temptation, what the nature of the relationship with the person that it happened with looked like, and everything. And I was able to talk to her and know that, for one, she had no ability to go back to anybody else and talk about what we were talking about. And two, she had absolutely nothing to lose or gain from the conversations we were having. Like, the only investment she had was to see me get well, and mentally and emotionally and spiritually. Like, that was the only investment that she has had in the situation. And so I started out going about once a week, and there were like breakthroughs each and every session. Again, I knew it was set up by God, because typically either right before or right after I would have a session with her, something would happen that would move me closer to overcoming these obstacles. And I had great revelation during my time in counseling. I discovered that this situation with this person that I had in my life was actually an idol that I hadn't realized that I had built, that I didn't understand how I had fallen into the temptation. But God let me know that I had like made this person an idol in my life unknowingly, for years, simply because of the way that our relationship was built. And because of that, God was able to move in the situation, because how can he tear down an idol if I'm not aware that the idol was even present? The funny thing is like, once I became aware that it was an idol, I wanted to take care to kind of tear the idol down gently, and not really like mess up anything else, except for the part that I felt like God was displeased with. But the reality is, like, God like legit blew a missile through that thing, and it hurt. It was hard. I didn't. It was unexpected in a lot of ways, and that I didn't know how to really respond to it. But that was the beauty of being in counseling, is that I was able to know that, okay, I have this person that I can talk to, and it honestly made it easier for me to then go and talk to my friends, because oftentimes I would talk to my counselor about things that were going on. I would vocalize it, be able to work it out to a certain extent, and figure out how I wanted to communicate it to the other people in my life who were holding me accountable. And then once I was able to do that, then it made it easier for me to be able to communicate what was going on. I was super transparent with my friends, with my small group, and they all know that I'm in counseling. And there was just such a freedom with it, like that. I didn't have any shame associated with it. No one tried to make me feel bad about going to see a counselor, or making me feel like I should be relying solely on the Bible in order to get through this. But understanding that God had strategically placed this person in my life as a counselor to help me through this situation. And it was a absolutely beautiful thing. I couldn't have asked for a better counselor. I couldn't have asked for God to bring a better person into my life to help me work through the situation. One of the things that God had to teach me, though, in the process, is that it was easy for me to feel like, if something was happening, if I was feeling some type of way and I was in between counseling sessions, it was easy for me to feel as if man, I really need to talk to my counselor. I want to call her. I want to reach out to her. I want to talk to her about this. Or, I feel like I had to hold it until my next counseling session. And God had to get me to a point to recognize that she was not there for me to rely on her. She was simply a tool that He had provided to me in order to work me through the situation. And so, while I started out going weekly, eventually my sessions moved to bi-weekly. And so I had weeks where I would not be having a counseling session. And sometimes those weeks would be really tough. Sometimes it would just be a lot to try to, wait until the following week till I got to a counseling session to be able to talk things out. But God always reassured me. He was like, no, you don't need to talk to her about that. You can talk to me about it. And it was amazing to be able to hear from God in that way, and knowing that He wanted me to continue to rely on Him, and instead of relying on my counselor. And the beauty of having a Christian counselor is that she recognized when it was time for me to put more space in between our counseling sessions. She was not concerned about how much money she was making. She wasn't concerned about that she was able to bill my insurance for it. As I progressed through this situation, she would even tell me that, I was making great progress, and which is why she moved me from weekly to bi-weekly, because as I was progressing, she was recognizing that I was gaining the tools to kind of work through this thing on my own. And there wasn't as much going on. Like, I had worked through a big chunk of what was happening. And eventually, just back in March, she moved me to monthly sessions. And so now I only go to counseling once a month. It's still a great thing to do, because even though I may not be dealing with the issue of falling into temptation anymore, and things are not as heavy, and I've worked through those issues, it's great to have a place to have check-ins, because again, during this whole process, I realized that I had way more crap going on in my life than just this situation. That there were things that I needed to work through as far as my family, as far as some of my friends go, as far as work goes, that there was just stuff that just kept coming up. And God was really using this as an opportunity for me to grow just as a person, and to better myself just as an individual. Not just for myself, but for the work that God has intended for me to do. And so the experience of having a counselor and being able to talk to her about the things of my life that are just going on, and the good things, the bad things, the things that I wish were different, just everything has been overall an amazing experience. And so I know that a lot of times for Christians, and also for the Black community, that mental health tends to be a little taboo. And that oftentimes we negate making sure that we're mentally healthy for the sake of not wanting to, feel like we're crazy or that something's wrong, and going to talk to somebody, or for the sake of feeling like I don't want to tell somebody I don't know all of my business. But I would say honestly that it was probably one of the most transformative things that I've ever experienced. And that I believe that Jesus is okay with us having counselors, that He's okay with us going and talking to people through our issues, and going to a licensed professional to help us work through whatever it is that we may have going on. The key is that we do not become dependent on those people, because once again, they are still people, that they are supposed to just be tools and vessels that you allow the Lord to use to have an impact on your life. And you allow for them to minister to you through counseling, to help you move into the right direction. But at the end of the day, God is supposed to be your go-to. God is supposed to be your source, not a counselor. So that was really like the main thing that really helped me through the process. That that and the fact that I knew that I had like so many people praying for me, people who didn't know all the details of what was going on, that they can just sense a difference in me. They knew that something had happened, but they didn't know exactly what had happened. Or just for the simple fact that with my small group, I told them that I really just wanted to go back to dating girls, and that the only thing that was keeping me from doing that was that I really loved Jesus, and I knew our relationship wouldn't be the same if I did that. That they were really praying for me, and they were interceding for me, to get to be able to see the result that sits before you today, the person that I've been able to transform into. And it's been an awesome experience knowing that I could overcome something like that. That even though I may have fallen, even though I may have made a mistake, that I didn't have to stay down, and that God still loved me. God still had a plan for me, that nothing that he had planned for me changed just because I made this mistake. But it did give me a heightened awareness of making sure that I don't become overconfident in what I'm doing and how I'm living my life, and continue to be vigilant as far as protecting my peace, protecting my freedom, protecting my salvation. So that's really what really got me through. If you don't have a counselor, I would recommend that you go, if you got insurance, look at your insurance, whoever your provider is, and look at the website. You can look for a counselor in your area. They'll give you a whole list of them, and just see if you can get to talk to somebody. Your local church should be able to help you find a counselor if you are a member of a local church. I know a lot of churches actually have counselors on staff, and if you're a member of the church, they will offer you counseling sessions as a member. So don't feel ashamed if you feel like you need to go to counseling, and that you need some additional help in processing through whatever it is that you may go through. We all need help, and we all need that additional support. And who better to get it from than somebody that has the education and is professionally licensed to do it, but also loves Jesus and wants to see you spiritually and mentally healthy. So that's all I got for today. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you got a little bit of something out of it, regardless of what you may be going through. Just knowing that you're not the only one going through something, and that you're not the only one who may feel the need to get some additional help outside of your local pastor or your small group or any other spiritual guidance that you may need. Again, videos are going to keep coming. Feel free to like, comment, or share. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so that you can get the notifications when new videos are posted. As always, it has been a pleasure talking to you guys, and until next time, y'all be blessed and stay safe. Peace.